Joseph, it feels like if they can get the cloud right, a lot will be forgiven, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. You would think the cloud business, AWS, will be fine this quarter. We're looking for 40% growth, which is quite strong, obviously. But with so many people doing hybrid work, the usage of the cloud has just increased. And so I think that they've continued to gain market share in those categories.
What are your specific expectations for the cloud business? Because as we saw in the case of Microsoft, it was really under a microscope. I think they were shy of 50% growth. The stock initially sold off on that, but then they came out and said they saw reacceleration already this quarter. So as granular as possible, what are your expectations for the cloud business?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking for 40% growth, get to around $17.5, $18 billion of revenue for the quarter. And I would expect them to say that the go forward is still pretty strong, that they're going to continue at this kind of mid 30% type growth rate going forward is kind of how we've modeled it for this year. We think that they're the leader in the space, and we know the cloud's done well, as you mentioned, just with Microsoft. And we think that the cloud and AWS business at Amazon is still very strong and going to remain that way.
What about e-commerce?
Yeah, I think we're coming back down to life after the pandemic surge that we saw. We're looking for, around 7 to 10% growth in the fourth quarter for e-commerce. So I think expectations are already relatively low. And then the go forward for next year, it's more like a low to mid teens type growth rate in the US. So I think that people, have tried to adjust to this. It's kind of interesting that the expectations, and I've been watching the programming all day, people are really expecting some disappointing results out of Amazon. Well, it feels like it's baked into the stock at this point. I think we all agree they're probably going to sound pretty cautious on costs, but the top line has been okay, and they will show that they're continuing to gain some market share, we think.
What has to happen for this stock to get moving? We were looking at it over the past 18 months or so, and it's basically, I think one of the people said it's consolidating. Well, that's a different way to me of saying it's been dead money for 18 months.
Yeah, it's been frustrating too, because the stock has had moments where, they've done so well, and the sales and demand has been very high and remains high, even as it moderates a little bit. But right now, it's like everybody shifted to wanting to see profitability. I think people got used to seeing Amazon put up nice, solid profits out of the retail side of the business, which historically it never did. And all of a sudden, that's the main focus now, is people want to see that profitability go forward at a pretty solid rate. We think next year in 22, we're going to see around a 7.5%, 8% operating margin overall for the company, and are hoping that we'll see a bit of a rebound in the stock back beyond the $3,000 level. And from there, we hope it can keep going.